Zoroastrianism, Symbols and Values by Jacques, Duchesne. We're picking back up on page 31, the order of the entities. A number question presents itself about the entities, either considered in themselves or as a Mazda's escort. Why those and not others? Is there a principle to their character, their choice? In order to answer this question, their order should be studied. Indeed, when they are enumerated, it is not in an indifferent order, but in a list which, apart from certain variations easily accounted for, is remarkably fixed. Here is this list, as it results notably from Duchesne, chapter 1. Let us note beforehand that the place of Spentamenu, the first one, has been taken over by Mazd himself. With Wam the spirit had long been identified, or Mazd, Vohomana, Asha, Shatrao, Harvatat, and Emeritat. According to Gersevich, this order is justified by that of the elements and other material objects patronized by these entities, i.e., man, the fox, fire, metals, the earth, waters, and plants. The list of entities would represent or imply a certain analysis of the universe. This explanation is not convincing for such a heteroclite succession of elements in which fire and the metals are interrelated between the ox and earth, and from which the wind is absent, would itself require justification. If, however, one accepts the strained analysis of the physical world, will it be made the basis of the system of entities by deriving each of these from the element of which it is patron. This has been attempted without success by L. H. Gray in his article, The Double Nature of Iranian Archangels. Generally speaking, the mere fact that the entities wear abstract names precludes any attempt to find a concrete origin for them. Another principle is therefore required for a list of entities. Now this principle becomes apparent as soon as one takes the fact into account, following Dumzel, that this list is parallel to that of social functions and of the gods which represent them. This parallelism is not fortuitous, for each entity has, with its opposite god, a particular affinity, demonstrable by other means. We may summarize that Georges Dumzel has expounded at length. Vohu Mana protects the cattle, as Mitra is the god with wide pastures. Asha is identical to Vedic or Ta, which is guarded by Varuna. In the same way, Shatrao corresponds to the Kastral, patronized by Indra. Harvatat and Emeritat were closely associated, as we have seen, to the Iranian opposite numbers of the Nasatyals. If we provisionally neglect Ormazd and Armadi, we obtain a list of entities exactly parallel to that of the gods of Mitanni. Vohumana Mitra, Hasha Varuna, Shatra Indra, Harvatat Emeritat, the two Nasatyals. The list enumerates in their order the three social functions: sovereignty under its two aspects, war, fecundity. We have yet to justify the places of Armati and Armaz that dimension a variation of order between Bohemana and Asha. Armati, who was trivalent, could be put on any rank, but Rahamala Ganahita, being above all goddess of fecundity, and more important than the Nasatyals, it seemed proper to place her immediately before them. As for Amazd, or previously Spentamenu, it was natural that he come first. As the great God creator, it is not necessary to invoke any affinity, itself probable. Between Spentamenu and Ramanu's twin, and Veyu's good half, twin to the bad half of this god, or to recall Veyu Janus, initial character, Beside his warlike character, it should be observed, however, that if Veyao did once belong to a list, the element wind, which he patronized, figured accordingly in the list of physical things, where its absence surprises us on the presence of man at the beginning of the Pahlavi list. We shall have to speak again in chapter 4. The rank of Ohomana and Asha is subject to variation, as we have said. Indeed, 3 got the text, Yasna 27.15, 37.4, and 35. Tell us that the first and greatest dimension Smenta is Asha. Everywhere else, Vohamana comes first. Asha's priority is in accord with Varuna's, whereas that of Vohamana reproduces Mitra's interiority in the compound Mitra of Varuna, and anteriority due merely to the linguistic rule, which states that in a Devandva, the shorter term comes first. In this way, the list of Amenshesmentas seem to reflect, even in this variation, the divine hierarchy and its linguistic expression. The tripartite ideology allows us to elucidate completely the series of material objects patronized by the entities. For some of them, the connection is self-evident. The earth and the waters and the plants and the quasi-identical with Armadi, Harvatad, and Ameritad. Fire is associated to Shah, as it is in the Veda, the sacrificial fire, since Ratha Shah is the norm of liturgy. One reads in the Rig Veda 5.2.6, whoever of Agni honors thy sacrifice with veneration, that one guards the Ratha. Similarly, in the Gathas, it is with sacrificial fire that Asha is associated. For the ox and the metals, the connection is not obvious. Here, the tripartite ideology gives us the clue. Vohamana, patronized, the ox as Mitra, is a master of wide pastures. Shatra, the entity of war and function, patronizes the metals of which weapons are made.